People who never prepare for anything? How's that working out? I have this terrible habit of never preparing for anything, and somehow it just keeps working. School presentations got done 5 minutes before class. College exams got studied for on the walk to the lecture hall. So when I landed an interview for my dream job at this massive tech company, 6-figure salary with 4 rounds of interviews, everyone lost their minds. I was 26 and still sharing a 2-bedroom apartment with 3 roommates, and this job would change everything. My best friend grabbed my shoulders and said, "This is the one time you cannot wing it. Do you understand me?" I fully intended to prepare this time, but somehow the week before the final interview just slipped away. I skimmed the company website for 10 minutes and figured that was enough. I downloaded their annual report, and it sat unopened in my downloads folder for 6 days. I meant to practice interview questions, but my roommate wanted dinner, and one dinner turned into 3 hours at a bar. The night before, I told myself I would wake up early and cram everything, but instead I fell asleep watching a documentary about penguins, and woke up in a panic with exactly 45 minutes to get downtown. I threw on my suit, grabbed a gas station coffee that tasted like it had been burning since yesterday, and walked into that building like a man who had already accepted defeat. The waiting room was a nightmare of overachievers. One woman had a leather portfolio so thick it could stop a bullet, and she was muttering statistics under her breath. A guy in the corner was doing breathing exercises with his eyes closed, lips moving like he was rehearsing his entire life story. Another candidate had color-coded note cards spread across his lap and kept whispering, "Synergy, integration, value proposition." I had my phone with 14% battery and absolutely nothing else. A woman next to me glanced at my empty hands and actually looked concerned for me like I had wandered into the wrong building. I smiled at her like everything was fine, and she did not smile back. They called my name, and I walked into a conference room with 6 executives sitting around a massive table, all of them staring at me like I was about to perform. The first question was about the company's recent merger with some firm I had never heard of, and I fumbled through a response so vague it could have applied to any company in history. One executive wrote something down, and I watched another one suppress a sigh. They asked about my 5-year strategic vision, and I rambled about growth and innovation, words that mean nothing but sound impressive if you say them with confidence. The CEO tilted her head and said, "Can you be more specific?" I absolutely could not be more specific. I tried to pivot and said something about adapting to market conditions, which made it even worse. I watched them exchange glances that clearly said they were wondering why they had wasted a slot on me. The CFO checked his watch and wrote something in his notebook that I was pretty sure was just a line through my name. One of the executives hadn't even asked me a single question and was just staring at me like I was wasting her afternoon. The interview was dying, and I was the one killing it. Then came the final question, and the CEO leaned forward like she was already mentally moving on. She asked what I would change about the company's customer experience if I could change one thing. I just started venting about trying to buy something from their website last month. The homepage took 11 seconds to load, and I almost closed the tab. The checkout glitched and made me re-enter my credit card 3 times like the site was actively fighting me. The confirmation email never came, and I sat on hold for 40 minutes just to find out if my order even existed. I told them I genuinely thought about hanging up and just disputing the charge with my bank. I looked at her and said, "Honestly, I almost gave up and bought from your competitor, and the only reason I didn't was because my sister told me your product was worth the pain." The room went dead silent, and I figured I had just insulted the company to the faces of the people who ran it. I was already mentally rehearsing my apology when the CFO pulled out his phone and started typing frantically. The head of marketing leaned forward and said, "Wait, go back to the checkout thing." The CEO held up her hand and everyone stopped moving. She said, "We have been losing customers for 18 months, and we have spent over $2 million on consultants trying to figure out why, and not one of them caught this." The head of operations started laughing and shook his head and said, $2 million, and this kid figured it out because he actually bought something from us." The CEO looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time and said, "Can you start in 2 weeks?" The offer letter came with a handwritten note from the CEO thanking me for my fresh perspective. My best friend didn't speak to me for 3 days.